You ever walk through a discount store like Ollie's, look at all the stuff piled high, and wonder, is there a hidden opportunity here? Well, we're about to dive deep into the wild and surprisingly profitable world of what's called retail arbitrage. And we're going to do it by following a seller named Kona, who has seriously turned these bargain aisles into his own personal goldmine. So let's just start with the number that really matters, $300,000. And to be clear, that's not sales, that's pure profit. That's the money Kona's put in his pocket in just over 2.5 years, all from shopping at discount stores and flipping products online. So how on earth is that even possible? Well, it all comes down to one core idea. And that idea is called retail arbitrage. It sounds kind of fancy, but it's really simple. It's just the act of finding something in a store, say at Ollie's, that's cheaper than what it's selling for online on a place like Amazon. You buy it, you list it, you ship it out, and you pocket the difference. Now, it sounds easy, right? But the real skill, that's in knowing what to buy. To really get how this works, we're going to walk through Kona's whole playbook. We'll start with how he approaches it, like a 6-figure scavenger hunt. Then we'll look at the actual tools he uses. We're also going to learn how to decode what you see on the shelf, brace ourselves for a story about a massive $71,000 mistake, and finally see how it all goes from a shopping cart to actual cash. You know, it all starts the second Kona walks into a store. And the very first thing he does, he grabs 2 shopping carts. Always 2. He calls it manifesting a good trip. His logic is if you only grab 1 cart, you're not planning to find enough stuff to fill it. It's this whole mindset that turns the entire store into a field of opportunity, a giant scavenger hunt for profit. Okay, so let's get into the toolkit. This is not just wandering around and getting lucky. Kona follows a really simple but super powerful system. It's a repeatable process for finding those profitable items that are just hiding in plain sight. So, where do you even begin? According to Kona, you start by scanning, well, everything. When you're new to this, you've got to build up your knowledge base, and you do that through sheer volume. It's all about persistence. You just scan and scan, request approval from Amazon to sell different brands, and slowly but surely, you start to learn what actually works. His whole process, right there in the aisle, really boils down to these 4 steps. First, he scans the product's barcode, the UPC, with his phone. That pulls up the item in his Amazon seller app. But for a deeper dive, he checks that against historical sales data from a really popular app called Keepa. And then, based on all that info, he makes the call. Is it a buy or a pass? Now, this is where the real skill comes into play. I mean, anybody can scan a barcode, right? The real art of retail arbitrage is learning how to interpret the data that pops up on your screen. It's about turning all those numbers into a smart, profitable decision right then and there in the middle of a store aisle. So, let's look at a real-life decision he had to make. On one hand, you've got this Burt's Bees toothpaste. The profit's not bad, about $1.88. But look at that key detail. Amazon itself is selling it. That's a huge competitor you don't want to mess with. So, that's a pass. On the other hand, we've got this Harry and David's coffee. The profit is almost identical, but the big difference? Lower competition. That makes it a no-brainer. Kona's decision was to buy every single box they had on the shelf. But here's the key insight. Profit margin isn't the whole story. The other absolutely crucial factor is sales velocity. How fast does it sell? Kona says he's totally fine making a smaller profit, like $1.20 an item, if he knows it's going to fly off the virtual shelf. In this game, cash flow is king, and a product that moves fast lets him reinvest that cash into the next shopping trip and the next. And this just perfectly shows why he went all in on that coffee. The data showed that this exact coffee was selling over 100 units a month on Amazon. That crazy high demand confirmed it wasn't just a profitable item, it was a fast-moving one. That makes it a low-risk investment that's going to turn back into cash really, really quickly. But, you know, this business isn't all just easy wins and slam dunks. To give you the real picture, we have to talk about the risks. Kona told us this story about a huge bet he made on Nike products that almost ended his entire business. He went all in. I mean, he spent $71,000 on Nike stuff during a Black Friday sale. And for the first 3 days, it was incredible. $22,000 in sales just flew in. And then he gets the email. Amazon was deactivating all his Nike listings in 8 hours. Total disaster. But instead of just giving up, he took the $6,200 he'd earned in Kohl's cash from that purchase and immediately pivoted, investing every penny into a different, approved brand. This was literally the make-or-break moment. As Kona put it, if that pivot with the Kohl's cash didn't work out, They were done. It was that serious. But his quick thinking and his resilience, well, they paid off. The new investment worked, it turned a profit, and he managed to pull his business back from the edge of a cliff. So, after the thrill of the hunt, the data deep dives, and navigating some seriously huge risks, what does success actually look like? And maybe more importantly, if you're watching this, what are the first actual steps you could take to try this yourself? This is the result. At the time they were filming, Kona's year-to-date sales were over $857,000. And get this, 98% of that came from stuff he bought in regular retail stores. It's just incredible proof of how scalable this whole model can be. Of course, there's a little work to do after you leave the store. Back at his home base, all the items get unpacked, price tags come off, they get prepped, maybe bundled, and then boxed up to be sent to an Amazon FBA warehouse. That stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. From there, Amazon handles all the shipping. And Kona says once the stuff checks in, it typically starts selling within just 1 to 3 weeks. So what's the takeaway here? Well, here are Kona's recommended first steps. First, obviously, open a seller account. Then, just go to a store and start scanning. Scan everything just to see what the data looks like. Request approval to sell any brand you can. And most of all, focus on learning how to read that data, the sales rank, the competition. And his best advice, treat it like a treasure hunt. That way, it's an exciting challenge, not a chore. At the end of the day, what this all shows is that for people who have the patience to learn the system and the resilience to handle the setbacks, there is some serious opportunity just hiding in plain sight. The profit is there. It's just sitting on the shelves. The only real question left is, are you ready to go find it?